go through something like with my family, like the only people that can make me mad is if I love you.
Oh God, yes.
If I love you, you can make me mad. If I don't give a fuck about you, I don't give a fuck what
can't
you
affect
say,
me at all.
what you do, how you feel. Like fuck you, eat dick, die. But
the people that you love can crush you for real.
Right, the people that I love, like if I fuck with you and I feel like it's genuine, it's gonna be like, God damn, bro.
Yeah.
The clip went viral in minutes. Finesse2Tymes and J. Prince Jr. face-to-face, tension thick, hands flying. Blogs posted it. Comment sections exploded. People picked sides before the video even finished buffering. But here's what most people missed. That altercation didn't start that night. It started the moment a contract was signed. Because what you're looking at isn't just two grown men throwing hands. It's frustration. It's pressure. It's a comeback that didn't feel like freedom. It's an artist who came home from prison thinking he'd won, only to realize he might have walked into another cage. And when you understand the paperwork behind the partnership, the tears on live, the silence from the other side, that viral moment hits different. This wasn't random. This was years building. And once you see how it really unfolded, you'll realize the fight was just the final scene of something way bigger. When Finesse2Tymes walked out of federal prison in 2022, it felt like the start of a legend. He had just finished serving time on a federal firearms case. The streets were still saying his name, his older records were buzzing again, and the industry was watching to see if he could turn a prison bid into a real second act. Then came the moment that made everything look official. A private jet pickup, cameras rolling, a heavyweight cosign, a chain placed around his neck like a coronation. The message was loud and clear. This wasn't just a comeback, this was a power move. Signing with Mob Ties Records, led by J. Prince Jr., didn't look like a gamble from the outside. It looked strategic. Mob Ties had real industry connections, real infrastructure, real reach. For an artist fresh home, that kind of backing can feel like security. And at first, it worked. Music dropped, features rolled in, his buzz stayed alive. Fans believed this was the moment everything would finally stabilize. After years of legal trouble and setbacks, it looked like he had aligned himself with a machine built to protect him. But here's the part nobody talks about enough. When you come home from prison, you're racing against time. You want momentum fast, you want money fast. You want to prove you didn't waste your second chance. And sometimes in that rush, you sign first and ask questions later. At the time, it felt like loyalty and opportunity. Later, it started feeling different. And that's when the celebration slowly turned into frustration. At first, nobody questioned the paperwork. When an artist signs with a connected label right after coming home, the assumption is simple. They got a solid deal, infrastructure, promotion, guidance, protection. That's the image. But months later, cracks started showing. In early 2026, during multiple emotional live streams, Finesse began speaking openly about the structure of his deal. He claimed the revenue split left him with far less control and profit than he expected. According to reports circulating online, the partnership allegedly divided earnings between him and Mob Ties, with additional managerial control sitting under affiliated entities. Now, contract structures in the music industry are complicated. Percentages vary, advances are recouped, expenses get deducted before artists see real profit. That's normal. What's not normal is when an artist feels blindsided by how much decision-making power they actually surrendered. Finesse said he funded music videos out of pocket. He said promotional support wasn't what he thought it would be. He said show opportunities were being declined or rerouted. Whether every detail is accurate or not, one thing was clear from those lives. He felt boxed in. And when an artist feels trapped by paperwork they signed themselves, that frustration doesn't stay quiet. It grows. Because contracts don't just split money, they control release schedules, touring approvals, business negotiations, sometimes even creative direction. And once you realize you don't hold the keys to your own movement, the celebration hits different. And that's when the private jet welcome starts to feel less like freedom and more like the start of a long negotiation. The moment that really changed public perception didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened on Instagram Live. Finesse logged on looking drained. No performance energy, no bravado, just raw frustration. At one point, his voice cracked. He wiped tears from his face while thousands of viewers watched in real time. That wasn't promo, that was pressure. He spoke about feeling unsupported. He claimed he had dropped projects with minimal push. He said he was covering expenses himself. He mentioned large show offers that allegedly didn't materialize the way he expected. Whether every detail can be verified or not, the emotion was undeniable. And that emotion hit fans hard, because this wasn't a new artist complaining about streaming numbers. This was someone who had just done federal time, someone who believed he had finally secured stability, now publicly questioning the structure behind his success. He talked about responsibility, about kids depending on him, about trying to build something permanent instead of temporary buzz. The frustration wasn't just business, it was personal. And when he compared his background to the generational wealth behind the people managing him, that contrast became the headline. Not as an accusation, as a reality check. The internet immediately split into camps. Some said he should have read the fine print. Others said this is exactly how the industry traps desperate talent. But the real shift wasn't the debate, it was the image. A rapper who once projected confidence now looked overwhelmed, and that vulnerability changed the narrative. Because once the tears hit the timeline, this stopped being about hype. It became about power. After the live streams went viral, the sympathy didn't last long. Critics stepped in fast. One of the loudest responses came from fellow artist Lil Woody, who didn't sugarcoat his opinion. His message was simple: if you signed it, you own it. He questioned how someone could publicly challenge the structure of a deal they personally agreed to. The debate quickly turned into something deeper than just percentages. It became about accountability. Woody argued that artists coming from the streets know the industry history. Bad contracts aren't new. Stories of artists losing control aren't rare. So if you've watched that pattern for years, how do you walk into the same situation? That comment struck a nerve. Because this wasn't just about reading words on paper. It was about comprehension, understanding long-term consequences, knowing what recoupment means, knowing what management control clauses actually do. Some fans sided with Woody, saying emotions don't erase responsibility. Others pushed back, arguing that desperation after prison changes your decision-making. When you've just regained your freedom, the last thing on your mind is hiring a full legal team to dissect every clause. The argument wasn't clean, it was messy and personal. And that's what made it viral. Instead of a quiet contract dispute behind closed doors, it became a public lesson in business literacy. An uncomfortable reminder that talent doesn't protect you from paperwork. And while the internet debated reading skills and street logic, something else was brewing quietly in the background. Because contracts weren't the only relationships cracking under pressure. While the contract drama was heating up, another situation exploded that made everything even messier. Honeycomb Brazy. Their connection started behind the wall. While both were incarcerated, mutual contacts kept telling Finesse about Honeycomb's music. Respect grew from a distance. Honeycomb reportedly showed support publicly and even turned down opportunities out of loyalty while Finesse was locked up. That kind of loyalty means something. So when Finesse came home, expectations were high. People assumed they'd move as a unit. Features, collaborations, mutual growth. Instead, things got tense almost immediately. There were disagreements over money and timing. Miscommunication turned into frustration. Frustration turned into silence. Then silence turned into public shots. Honeycomb dropped a diss track questioning Finesse's character. Finesse responded online. Words escalated. Pride got involved, even entered the conversation. Once mothers get mentioned publicly, lines are crossed that are hard to uncross. The internet treated it like entertainment. But underneath the trolling was something real. Two artists who built a bond in struggle now clashing over expectations after freedom. And here's what made it more complicated. By late 2025, they reportedly buried the beef. Why? Because they realized something bigger was happening. They had spent months attacking each other while both were navigating industry structures they didn't fully control. Instead of fighting each other over perceived betrayal, they stepped back. Growth doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's two people realizing the real pressure isn't coming from each other, and while that reconciliation surprised fans, it didn't solve the larger tension that was still building elsewhere. Because one relationship had healed, the other was about to explode. After the emotional lives, the criticism, and the reconciliation with Honeycomb, everyone expected one thing: a response. But it didn't come. While Finesse was venting publicly, Mob Ties stayed quiet. No long interviews, no Instagram back and forth, no public statement breaking down their side of the deal, just silence. And in the music industry, when silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. When one side is emotional and the other side doesn't engage, the optics shift. The person speaking looks reactive. The person staying quiet looks composed. Whether that's fair or not, that's how perception works. fans kept refreshing timelines waiting for Jay Prince Jr. to address the contract complaints directly. Instead, there was nothing. No clarification, no confirmation, no denial. That silence created tension, because now the narrative was being built almost entirely from one side, and when only one voice is explaining the story, supporters fill in the gaps themselves. Some interpreted the quiet as confidence, others saw it as indifference. A few viewed it as power, the kind of power that doesn't need to argue publicly. Meanwhile, the frustration on Finesse's side wasn't fading. If anything, it looked like it was boiling over. And then the footage surfaced. Not words, not tweets, actual physical confrontation. At that point, silence wasn't just a strategy anymore, it became part of the story. Because when tension builds without resolution, it doesn't disappear, it erupts. Then the clip hit. Grainy, fast, loud. Two men chest to chest, words flying, hands moving, people in the background scrambling to separate them. Within minutes, the video was everywhere. Finesse2Tymes and Jay Prince Jr. No boardrooms, no contracts, no press statements, just raw confrontation. And that changed everything, because up until that point, this was a business dispute. Emotional? Yes. Public? Definitely. But still business. Now it looked personal. The footage didn't show the full backstory. It didn't explain who said what first. It didn't reveal what was happening off camera. But it showed enough to confirm one thing. The tension wasn't just online. It had spilled into real life. For fans, it was shocking. For critics, it felt inevitable. After weeks of public frustration and silence from the other side, many believed something like this was bound to happen. But here's where the situation got even heavier. Finesse is on supervised release. Any physical altercation, especially one captured on camera, can have legal. When you're under federal monitoring, perception alone can become a problem. So now, the stakes weren't just about contracts or pride, they were about freedom. And when freedom is already fragile, one heated moment can carry weight far beyond a viral clip. What started as paperwork drama had now turned into something that could affect his future directly. And that's when the conversation shifted from gossip to risk. While the internet focused on the fight, something more serious was happening quietly in the background. Federal supervision. Finesse isn't just an artist navigating label politics, he's someone on supervised release after serving time. That means regular check-ins, restrictions, zero tolerance for certain behavior. When you're under federal oversight, even small incidents can trigger major consequences. And that's what makes the altercation footage so risky. It's not about who threw the first punch, it's about optics. When federal officers review behavior, they don't care about internet narratives. They care about compliance, public conflict, association concerns, and new legal trouble can all become factors. On top of that, he's dealt with additional legal issues since his release, including arrests related to controlled substances. Each situation adds pressure. Each headline stacks weight on an already fragile position. So now, imagine the equation. Contract frustration, industry tension, public altercation, and federal supervision watching every move. That combination is combustible, because once you're back in the system's crosshairs, second chances get thinner. Judges don't care about music politics. They care about whether you're following conditions. That's why this moment feels bigger than entertainment. It's not just about pride or power anymore, it's about staying free. And when your freedom depends on discipline, emotional decisions can cost more than money. They can cost years. Which brings us to the real divide in this story. Power versus pressure. At this point, it stops being just a contract dispute. It becomes about power. Because when you look at this situation from a distance, one thing stands out immediately. On one side, you have a self-made artist fresh out of prison trying to rebuild his life, support his kids, and protect his future. On the other side, you have a family that has operated inside the music industry for nearly 4 decades. That imbalance matters. The Prince name carries history, relationships, influence, infrastructure. When you sign into that machine, you're not just signing paperwork. You're stepping into a network that's been moving long before you arrived. And here's the uncomfortable truth. In the music business, leverage is everything. Who controls the masters? Who controls the release schedule? Who approves the tours? Who negotiates the features? Who has the legal team? Control doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like delays. Sometimes it looks like opportunities that never quite materialize. That's why Finesse going public felt like a gamble. Because once you publicly challenge power, there's no quiet way back. You've drawn a line, and when one side has generational resources and the other side has emotion and urgency, the outcome isn't always about who's right. It's about who has the longer runway. That's what makes this dangerous. It's not just a disagreement, it's a power struggle. And power struggles in this industry rarely end clean. Then the footage dropped, not a heated argument, not another Instagram live rant, not a cryptic tweet. Were actual physical contact. The clip of Finesse2Tymes and J. Prince Jr. squaring up spread like wildfire. Within hours, it was everywhere. Instagram pages, TikTok edits, YouTube breakdowns, slow motion replays, zoomed in angles, frame-by-frame analysis. And here's why that moment hit different. Because once things get physical, it stops being business. It becomes personal. Up until that point, you could still argue this was a contract issue, a negotiation gone wrong, a misunderstanding between partners. But when two men who are supposed to be aligned are seen throwing hands, it signals something much deeper has broken. Trust, respect, communication, all of it. What made it worse was the timing. Finesse was already under legal pressure, supervised release, prior violations, the system watching his every move. The last thing he needed was footage of a public altercation circulating online. That kind of visibility doesn't just hurt your brand, it can hurt your freedom. Meanwhile, J. Prince Jr. didn't respond publicly. No statement, no live video, no explanation, just silence. And in situations like this, silence can feel louder than shouting. Because when one side is emotional and the other side is quiet, people start asking questions. Was this the breaking point? Or was this the beginning of something even bigger? Either way, that clip didn't just go viral, it shifted the entire conversation. After the footage went viral, everybody expected a response. A statement, a denial, a clarification, something. But what happened instead? Nothing. No Instagram Live, no press release, no coded tweet, just silence. And when you're dealing with a family that's built its reputation on power, influence, and long memory, silence doesn't feel accidental. It feels calculated. That's what has people uneasy. Because when one side is emotional and loud, and the other side is calm and quiet, it shifts the energy. Finesse had already cried on live, he already exposed the contract frustrations, he already made the tension public, but the other side didn't move. And that's where the fear factor creeps in. For decades, the Prince name has carried weight in the industry. Whether you believe the rumors or not, one thing is clear. Very few artists publicly challenge that family and walk away unaffected. So when no response comes, people start reading between the lines. Is the silence strategic? Is it legal advice? Or is it a message that doesn't need to be spoken? And meanwhile, Finesse is still under supervision, still fighting legal battles, still navigating a contract he claims boxed him in. That makes every public move risky, because at this level, this isn't just about pride anymore. It's about career survival. And when one man is fighting loudly for freedom while the other says nothing at all, the quiet can feel heavier than any diss track ever could. Now, everything comes down to one question. What actually happens from here? Because viral footage creates noise, but contracts create consequences. Right now, Finesse is still legally tied to the deal that started all of this. Unless there's a buyout, a settlement, or a court battle, paperwork doesn't disappear just because a fight went public. And the industry has seen this before. Artists get emotional, they vent online, fans rally behind them, but unless there's a legal strategy behind the scenes, nothing changes on paper. At the same time, this situation isn't just about business anymore. It's about ego, reputation, power. And when those elements mix inside hip-hop, things rarely cool down overnight. Finesse has pressure from every direction. Legal supervision, public scrutiny, expectations from fans who want him independent, and now footage that could complicate everything if it's interpreted the wrong way. Meanwhile, the other side hasn't responded. That silence leaves room for speculation. Is there a private resolution happening? Are lawyers negotiating? Or is this just the calm before another storm? History shows that industry disputes usually end in one of three ways: a quiet settlement, a long legal war, or a permanent split with unfinished tension hanging in the air. Which route this takes depends on strategy, not social media. And until something official changes, one thing remains true: the footage went viral, the emotions went public, But the real battle, that's happening behind closed doors. If you made it this far, you already know the situation is deeper than just a viral clip. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think this was a business dispute that went too far, or something personal that's been boiling for years? Drop your honest take in the comments and keep it respectful. If you want more breakdowns like this, where we dig into the contracts, the politics, and the moves behind the scenes, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The industry never sleeps, and neither do these stories.